Hello, this is Chris Stevens, CEO of Coda Minerals. This is a re-recording of speeches given during the month of November 2023, primarily at the IMARC conference and Coda's annual general meeting today on the 10th of November. This is for anyone who didn't manage to catch us at those meetings or at the conferences, and it's materially identical to those speeches given. Over the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to take you on both a virtual tour of our project and the current scoping study and our ICG exploration, and provide some background to the company. Coda Minerals listed in October 2020. We have 142 million shares on issue and an extremely experienced board, a board of developers, operators, geologists, and experienced finance people who guide and provide a lot of support to myself and the executive team. A discovery in June 2021 sent our share price rocketing, and we have been slowly following up on that discovery. And again, today, within this presentation, I'll provide further information around that discovery. Share price is currently trading at 16 cents with a market capitalization of 23 million. The project is located close to the town of Woomera in South Australia, approximately 6 hours north of Adelaide. We have over 1.1 million tons of contained copper, primarily in the JORC indicated category. And based on the scoping study published in March 2023, planned 25,000 tons per annum of copper cathode and 1,000 tons of battery grade cobalt sulfate. The project has standout ESG credentials. It is in a fantastic location, close to infrastructure, with many mines located close by, simple approvals processes in one of the world's premier mining jurisdictions. The foundational asset, which is the copper cobalt, the sediment hosted copper cobalt, primarily within the ME Bluff deposit, but also MG14 and Windabout, demonstrates an NPV pre-tax of $570 million and an IRR of 27% based on the scoping study published in March 2023. We are currently optimizing that, and we expect to have a scoping study update out before the end of this current quarter. As mentioned before, the IOCG exploration, that discovery hole that sent our share price rocketing and gave us 200 meters of incredible alteration, 50 meters of visual sulfides, assaying to well over 1% in an area where the average grades of IOCGs is generally much lower, followed by 23,000 meters of drilling. Over the last 6 months, we've been working extremely hard to identify new targets and to refine the current existing exploration model. And that gives us incredible untapped exploration potential, both for the copper cobalt, effectively find more resources and increase the scope of the project. And that has the potential to significantly increase the economics of the project. But then there's also the transformational IOCG exploration, for which, again, we became so famous and which we continue to work on and have incredible opportunities. The study released in March 2023 demonstrated the foundational economics of the project. This is a very strong project from an economic point of view, one of the highest IRRs in class in Australian copper, and with a net present value of $570 million pre-tax. Now, that study was very carefully done. A lot of aspects of it were done to generally where you would, beyond the level that you would see of a scoping study. And it demonstrated that this project can be mined, the mineralization can be processed, and the plan to produce 25,000 tons per annum of cathode, copper cathode, and 1,000 tons per annum of battery-grade cobalt sulfate is both very credible and economically robust. We are optimizing the study currently, and we expect these numbers to improve, especially as we work through improved mining methods and more selective, lower cost methods within the key deposit at ME Bluff. You can see here the incredible location of the project, located close to Carrapateena, just about 100 km to the south of Olympic Dam, couple of hundred k's from Prominent Hill, and just 15 k's from Oak Dam West. Located on the Gawler Craton, this project offers both sedimentary copper cobalt as well as the deeper IOCG exploration. As we zoom in, you can see here 701 square kilometers of tenure, encompassing 3 deposits for a total of 1.1 million contained tons of copper equivalent, roughly 800,000 tons of copper and 30,000 tons of cobalt. Now, I generally do use copper equivalent, and one of the reasons for that is we have a significant amount of metallurgical test work which backs up that conversion, but also because the cobalt is in carolite. Now, carolite is a pure cobalt sulfate and one of the most fantastic mineral products to be working with. It is recovering to plus 90% into concentrate and plus 95% into final product using a simple Albion process. So during this, we'll be talking about these deposits. You can see here as we zoom in, MG14, our smallest deposit, the very high grade, 1.42% in the production target of copper alone, 1.87% as a copper equivalent, with also very strong silver grades as well. You can see here the pit optimized, just 15 meters below primarily free dig dune sand, very soft, very close to surface, and extremely high grade for a copper open pit. Windabout, you can see here in the distance, just the other side of the Carrapateena haul road. Now this haul road, you can see here, is the Oz Minerals, now BHP haul road. It's an extremely high quality haul road, and we have a tenement sharing agreement. But this runs from the Stewart Highway all the way across the tenure to the BHP Carrapateena mine. As we focus in now on Windabout, you can see 4 open pits optimized from a single resource. Due to the grades and nature of the deposit, we have optimized this to 4 open pits. This minimizes movement of waste and gives a final grade of 1.71% copper equivalent. These are extremely high grades, even the copper at over 1% in our lowest grade deposit. Very, very unusual for an open pit deposit in the modern world, where often open pits will drop down to 0.3, 0.2% copper. So 1.71% copper here with that fantastic carolite cobalt product as well. Now, clearly in a higher copper price environment, this would be re-optimized to take more of the resource, but based on the current economics, this is how we've optimized it. 6 million tons at 1.71% copper equivalent. Now to the north of the tenure, approximately 45 kilometers to the north. This area of Emmy Bluff, it's roughly the size of Kings Park in Perth or a couple of Centennial Parks in Sydney, 4.5 square kilometers, an enormous area of mineralization. You can see here the very barren, it's actually quite breathtaking when you're on site. And you can see the very barren but very ESG friendly area, very, very little in the area. As far as the eye can see, just very plain scrubby ground. Now we're going to do a little bit of a virtual site tour here as we come into the core yard. As the software optimizes, you can see here, this is the main road, the core yard here. This is where we have our little site office and rack viewing area. This is where we take visitors when we do site visits. And it's very well set up. There's actually a full office in one of those containers, Wi-Fi signal and good facilities on site. Makes for a very useful place to be able to do site visits. Just close by, you can see the core farm. This is where we keep the on-site core. We obviously also have core in storage in Adelaide in cold storage. You can see here our fantastic security team on site, keeping guard of this valuable core. Emmy Bluff here. Now what we're going to do is to go on a visit underground into Emmy Bluff and to see the mineralization. So here underground, you can see this mineralization at 400 meters below the ground, about 4.5 square kilometers in size, with a production target of 1.86% from a resource of 1.84%. So one of the largest undeveloped copper projects in Australia, 43 million ton resource with a production target currently optimized to 26.2. I think it's fair to say that this is based on a long hole open stoping, so a conventional drill blast case. We are working with mechanical cutting because this is a soft dolomitic shale in a flat tipping ore body, or body of mineralization, I should say, for JORC purposes. You can see here years 1 to 3 with the development, spiral decline going 400 meters down, and the first development drives into mineralization. Following on from this, years 4 and 5, you can see that first production mineralization here as some of the higher grade areas get taken within the mine plan. And then optimizing years 6 to 10, you can see those two higher grade honeypots on the each side of the deposit. And then finishing off 11 to 15, just filling in some of these areas. Now, clearly there are areas to optimize this. Again, we're working through underground mechanical cutting as a very attractive option to increase both selectivity and speed of mining, but also decrease mining costs for this flat tipping, very soft ore body. Now, I get this a lot. These are relatively uncommon sort of geometry for bodies of mineralization within Australia, average mining thickness of just 3.4 meters. But globally, this is very common. Now, I will say this took a little bit of time to get right. It was a challenge. We had to find mining engineers familiar with these kind of narrow vein flat tipping ore bodies. But one of the things that we realized as we sort of started working through this is just how very common these are globally. And you can see here, and again, all of the assumptions are in the back of the pack that's available within our website. But you can see here that this is very normal to be mining at even much greater depths and thicknesses. Clearly, one of the great areas to further enhance the economics of the project is to find more mineralization. Not only does the mineralization potentially go the other side of the boundary, and gaining access to that is a potentially attractive option if possible, but within our own area with our own tenure, you can see here these yellow squares are the interpreted Tapley shale. So this is the host rock for the mineralization, and the geophysics is telling us that this extends significantly in areas completely untested by drilling. So we have really two major opportunities for improving the economics and for driving this just beyond the scope of the project as it currently stands. One of the challenges with this project is that the mineralization is, it's one of the largest undeveloped deposits of its type, but you can always have more, and it's always attractive to find more. And so being able to extend that mine life, or even take the mining project from 2.5 to 3 million tons, for example, for the processing, would be very, very attractive options. And so we have a very credible plan here, multiple targets that we've developed over the last sort of 6 months of work from multiple seismic, geophysical, and other sort of structural interpretations. So we have targets ready to go to extend this mineralization. You can see here, this is where it starts to get very interesting. You've got the mineralization of 400 meters, and then you can see these drill intercepts here below the mineralization, the existing JORC compliant mineralization, into the ME-IOCG area. These interpreted grade shells don't mean a whole lot. They kind of look like the Starship Enterprise, but what that's really telling us is there's a huge area of mineralization here which is completely not closed off. It's wide open. It's sitting there just below the existing mineralization within the JORC envelope. So at the top here, about 400 meters below the ground, these blue intercepts are around 800 to 900 meters. Yes, they are very deep, and I think it's worth sort of talking about that. IOCGs tend to be very deep. They tend to be quite low grade. One of the things that people rarely understand about this is that the average mined grades of the 3 major mines, so Prominent Hill, Carrapateena, and Olympic Dam. Generally, Olympic Dam around about 0.7% copper in the underground. Carrapateena mined at around 0.8 to 0.9% copper, but average resource grade of 0.6. Now, the intercepts we've hit here, +2, +3, 13 meters or 12.5 meters there at 3.61% copper and nearly 0.7 grams per ton gold. Very significant intercepts, very significant grades. We've got the grades. What we don't have right now is the scale. Over the past 6 months, or nearly 12 months now, since we stopped drilling, we have been working through multiple geophysical surveys and structural reinterpretations of this mineralization. Once you get a critical mass of drilling, that gives you the opportunity to increase your understanding through geophysics as well. So you can see this beautiful mineralization, absolutely spectacular, but what we need is scale. So the first thing we've done is map the basement. You can see here this very significant gravity high that we've targeted in the original mineralization. Taking that forward, there's a second gravity high, which you can see here, the other side of the structures which we've interpreted. So we've got two major gravity highs, and then we've got these structures which we're interpreting as what is moving and conveying this mineralizing fluid. Now, there are multiple pulses of mineralizing fluid within this mineralizing event. And what we're seeing, or what we believe we're seeing, is this first pulse within this gravity high and this major area of high gravity, so the gravity high within the basement. The gravity high is obviously caused by the iron oxide with an IOCG, iron oxide, copper, gold. And as you have multiple pulses of fluid, the first pulses will have taken iron oxide with them and created this gravity high. And then multiple pulses beyond that, likely separating out, or likely seeping out into the metasediments. What we're really chasing here is very simple. We know that we have a significant accumulation of copper from the intercepts that we've hit at a very high grade, especially compared to the average grades of IOCGs in the area. What we're really looking, and we've mapped what we believe based on the geophysics and evidence from the drilling to be the existing corridor of sediment, so these metasediments going up towards the north of the tenure, against the two major gravity highs. And this has given us a significant target area to focus on. What we know is that there's copper here within the existing intercepts. We know that the conditions appear to be similar to where we found existing mineralization with the two gravity highs here and here. And then this interpreted sediments based on the geophysics, which give similar characteristics to where we've already hit mineralization. What are we looking for? We're looking for scale. Now, our mission is to get this information and to continue targeting. We have surveys ongoing, and our mission is to get this information into the hands of the kind of groups that have deep pockets and are able to drill this and to go and chase this kind of mineralization. And that's one of the major pieces of work that we've been doing recently, which is really to engage with groups that might be able to assist us in taking this forward. Clearly, we don't want to do that at the expense of the significant sedimentary project above it. And again, I love this software because what it does is you can see here for the first time that relationship between, 43 million tons at 1.84% copper above. So that's roughly 550,000 tons of contained copper here. And then this significant gravity high area, sort of corridor of prospectivity, and there's significant intercepts well above 1, 2, and 3% copper within this just tiny area that we've already drilled. So in summary, we have a small area that we've drilled, we have a major corridor area, and we have the space to drop out what could potentially be a tier 1 IOCG deposit that's sitting below an existing and very significant accumulation of copper at Emmy Bluff. So here you can see the labels Emmy Bluff, Emmy IOCG. And then our exciting new target. This is another major gravity high here. You can see a historical drill hole has just missed the major sort of pod here. And that's something that we would be very keen on exploring further as well, especially with the right partner. So in summary, in terms of news flow and ongoing work, the first is the copper cobalt. We're optimizing the underground mining, targeting lower cost, more selective mining methods. We are in discussions with multiple parties focusing on a funding pathway and commercialization of that project. This is our primary focus. This is exciting, and this is very much worthwhile. We are engaged in more exploration for the sediment-hosted copper cobalt. We have near-term targets identified, ready to drill, and again, subject to that funding pathway, we could be drilling early in the new year. There is a vast 28 square kilometer area beyond that, which is wide open and extremely prospective. MEICG, the jewel in the crown, the 5th IOCG on the Gawler Creighton, the other 4 in the hands of BHP now. The project that has been so exciting and has given us some real transformational opportunity here. We have done a significant amount of work over the last 9 months. I appreciate the news flow has not always been as fast because some of these pieces of work take significant amounts of time, but we are now very advanced. We have done a significant amount of work, multiple geophysical surveys, multiple structural reinterpretations, completely revolutionized our geological model, and we are now working and talking with a number of groups who may be able to take this forward as an exploration case. We have an incredible asset here. What we need to do is unlock it with the right funding pathway, and that applies to both the sedimentary copper cobalt as well as the IOCG. Now, with that, I'll thank you for your time. We are always available, info@codaminerals.com, for questions. We try and provide as much media content as possible, and I very much encourage shareholders to get involved with our Investor Hub, to send us questions and messages, to watch the short videos as well. It's never as easy sitting here recording it as doing it live. So again, if you can come to any conferences we're talking at or attend live webinars as well, we very much welcome that. Thank you very much for your time.